and the planet. Ebaide, thank you so much for being part of the program.
Thank you so much for having me, Dr. Joy Asonye. Thank you so much. I mean, it's a timely conversation, and you've always been that person who always want to amplify these conversations in whatever platform you're able to. So yes, thank you so much for having me. It's good to be here.
Absolutely. Now, as the foundation prepares to host the Climate Teen Summit 2026, that's coming up on the 29th of January, this interview would go beyond the conversation that matter now and what governments across Africa are doing or failing to do to honor the climate commitment, and how civil societies can push for accountability and what the long-term consequences are if climate change continues to be treated as an afterthought instead of the development priority that it truly is. Well, we'll go for a short break. When we return, we'll get to the crux of the matter. So much to discuss: the environment, how you too can play a part. We'll be right back.
Welcome to Razep Africa, the heartbeat of the continent in one show. Of the continent in one show.
Welcome back from that. Now, before we go into that conversation around climate with Ebaide, we'll begin with a major election result and leadership change across Africa that has shaped a lot the political landscape for the years ahead. In Uganda, President Yoweri Museveni has been re-elected for the 7th time, winning 71.65% of the vote against opposition leader Bobi Wine. The election was held under tight security and an internet blackout, though partial connectivity has now been restored, excluding social media, of course. Analysts warn that while the vote extends Museveni's 4-decade rule, concerns remain over political freedoms and youth unemployment in the country. Meanwhile, in Guinea, former junta leader Mamadi Doumbouya has been sworn in as the country's civilian president after claiming 87% of the vote. Tens of thousands attended the ceremony, but critics questioned the credibility of this election due to the banned political parties, exiled opposition leader, and restricted media coverage. Moving away from that, in the Horn of Africa, Ethiopia has accused Eritrea of supplying ammunition to armed rebels, raising fears of renewed conflict. Now, Eritrea has denied this allegation, while experts warn that rising tensions could determine the fragile peace established after Ethiopia's civil war and dispute over the Red Sea access. On economic news across Africa, African governments have welcomed the U.S. House of Representatives' approval of a 3-year extension of the African Growth and Opportunity Act, that's AGOA as we often call it for short. This legislation, which allows duty-free access to U.S. markets, is expected to benefit key exports including automobiles, coffee, minerals and beef, while the African Union hailed the move as strengthening trade and investment ties between Africa and the United States. And in Ghana, the government has announced plans to scrap long-term mining stability pact and double royalties, aiming to maximize benefits from surging gold prices. Officials say that this reform would, of course, increase state revenue, though mining companies warn that higher royalties may raise operating costs and affect long-term investment and projects. Finally, in business news, Egyptian high-end food retailer Gourmet is preparing an initial public offering, selling 47.6% of its shares on the Egypt Stock Exchange. The move will fund expansion of retail outlets, home delivery, and manufacturing operations as the company looks to capitalize on growing consumer demand across the country. That's it for this morning's African News Update. Another very quick short break. When we return, it will be time for the story on the discussion on climate efforts by government and what my guest is doing to ensure that we all are responsible and responsive to our environment. We'll be back after this short break.
Welcome to Razep Africa, the heartbeat of the continent in. Welcome to Razep Africa, the heartbeat of the continent in. Welcome to Razep Africa, the heartbeat of the continent in one show. One show. Welcome to Razep Africa, the heartbeat of the continent in one show.
Welcome back from that short break. It's time to go to the conversation as promised, discussing climate change as no longer a distant threat. I mean, we've been saying this over and over again. It's time to take action and take it now beyond pacts and treaties and alignment and all the commitment, both international and within our bloc, within Africa and all that. So I think to set the basis for this, you should take us through your journey. What personally led you to climate advocacy and why you saw the future from several years ago?
Interesting. So thank you very much again for having me. Being in this space, first of all, is, if you ask me, an utmost privilege for anyone who wants to see development, everyone who wants to see growth and stability in one's country. It's going to be a privilege for you to be in a space where you are part of the conversation towards implementation of that development.
Absolutely.
And for me, really, I keep referencing 10 years ago. We're in 2026 now. In 2016, I sat in an airport and this young man comes up to me to say, "Oh, what's your name?" We had a very brief conversation, and the next thing he says, "Okay, so what do you do exactly? You're going to Abuja?" I said, "Yes. I'm about to catch a flight from Lagos to Abuja because I have an interview." However, when I'm not being a lawyer, when I'm not being someone who wants to review a policy or a document or write a legal statement, I'm one who is on the field. I like being on the field. I'm into community development. I'm currently working on something to ensure that young children within the FCT are currently aligned, you know, with the global trends. So, for example, build confidence, build public speaking. And he goes, "So have you heard about the Sustainable Development Goals?"
Right.
He said, I said, "What's that?" And he asked me, "So have you heard of the MDGs?" I said, "Oh, Millennium Development Goals, we all know that. It's sort of expired in 2015. I mean, it was a 15-year long period." Yeah. And he goes, "Oh, so that is now extinct. We now have what we call the Sustainable Development Goals 2030. And he goes, I think you should align. And what I mean by aligning is, if you must do anything at all with regards to children or youth or the community, ensure that you're aligning with the key indicators of the Sustainable Development Goals.
That guides your activity
absolutely,
in the very first place.
Absolutely. And he told me, you know what, just go read about it and all. And I think that was the breaking point for me in 2016. Exactly 10 years ago, in January 2016, at the airport, went to catch an Arik flight, the power of small talk, and here I am today. And between that time and today, I've had to work with communities and been in the IDP camps, where the current displacements are from different sources, including flooding. And, you know, with a further research on what these crises are and how to curb that, climate change obviously comes top. And for anyone who has also, you know, gone deep in research in terms of poverty and how to alleviate it and how to ensure that hunger is no more in the land, you know, you would all agree with me that there's a retracing back to climate change. And so the whole climate conversation for me just came naturally from the work I do, you know, in the rural communities. And I began to research. I made a lot of, you know, research. I did a lot of I asked a lot of questions. And in doing all of that, of course, we discovered that, of course, we actually have the Paris Agreement as well, which actually came into force about the same time. You know, we have the Paris Agreement, and at the time, we didn't have the Climate Change Act at the time, you know, but it was the Paris Agreement we were all aligning and, you know, relying on. And of course, we had a lot of youth group across different countries in Africa and, of course, in the West, doing a lot of things around climate change. So it was just natural for us to look up to those, you know, those conversations being heard, those initiatives being done and aligned to what we're currently doing. Because whether we like it or not, we see our peculiarities here.
Absolutely.
Our perspectives are different, our peculiarities are different, and so we need to align it. Not necessarily adopt and copy, but literally look at it, look at the adoption process, look at our peculiarities and align, you know, accordingly. So it has been a beautiful journey for me, from working in the development space, from being in the communities, in the rural communities, to today championing and driving conversations on climate change towards implementation. It's been an awesome journey. So yes, the journey hasn't been very rosy.
Of course.
Yes.
Of course.
In 2021, we passed the Climate Change Act, the Nigerian Climate Change Act, which was a good step in the right direction, actually. And today we're still amplifying that conversation on, you know, how can we, you know, do better.
Absolutely.
And just last week as well, the president endorsed the, you know, the carbon markets framework as well, which is also a good step in the right direction. But whilst we have all of these documents, like what I keep saying in every platform I find myself, the major thing is implementation. Implementation.
Yes. And speaking about implementation, how does your NGO, because I mean, I work with you a lot on climate activities. How have you managed climate advocacy is often very abstract. How have you managed to communicate this talk to local realities, what communities are seeing as the consequences of ignoring environmental issues and climate change issues? Especially when, I mean, we are happy that the act has been gazetted. We're also happy about the carbon market and all of that. But when you want to hear from the global north, you hear the president of the US telling you climate change is a scam. Something that sounded like it was written in a Jegule, you know, climate change is a scam. That's the biggest scam that has ever existed. How have you communicated this to the communities while also having to debunk that kind of statement from someone as powerful as the President of the United States?
Interestingly, it's a no-brainer that for us in Africa, you know, we are experiencing it. So you don't even need any fine words or any hoodwink, so to say. I don't need to hoodwink you to say you must understand this.
Or even say it.
No, it is what you are experiencing. And anytime I find myself in a group or in a place and this conversation comes up, I just ask a very basic question. So how's the fruit you buy now? How is it?
How is it?
How is the fruit you buy?
I was saying something about the corn that I used to eat.
Good. The air you breathe. How do you feel about it? And I mean, just 2 weeks ago, a warning was issued on the air. And next day, I started seeing a lot of people wearing face masks. Facebook became popular 2 weeks ago.
Exactly.
Or because we saw a warning that the air that is currently being circulated or that's circulating at the moment is not the purified air and has some particles. And I told someone, that is climate change in action, in real time. We are experiencing it. Flooding. You probably know somebody, a friend or a distant friend, or from the media.
The Nigerian Meteorological Agency gives you all the time
exactly.
the yearly expectations of where you find
exactly.
flooding or what's the other one called? How has that escaped me? But basically,
yes.
drought rather. That's
yes.
what I'm trying to remember.
So
basically,
our farmlands.
we see it.
So the thing is, it is there. We are experiencing it real time. If Donald Trump is not experiencing it, that's fine. If he thinks it's a hoax, then that's fine. But we Africans are experiencing it real time. It is not a distant threat. It is happening now. We are seeing it now. We are experiencing it now. You know someone who has been displaced somehow.
Absolutely.
You know someone who has a farmland and who doesn't farm anymore. You know, we see these things all the time. So it's not rocket science for us, who are the greatest sufferers, by the way, even though we're the lowest emitters.
I mean, that conversation was rife, I think, during COP,
yes.
When a lot of advocates came up to say the global north should take responsibility for the consequences of what the global south is
Absolutely.
facing. But before we come back home as to what you are doing with the climate teen hub and all of that, do you think there's something the global south should do? Because we are like you just alluded, we are at the mercy of these emissions and the consequences that it comes with. Are we not pushy enough to say, you keep giving us handouts and say, oh, okay, this is for global consequences. There are little grants here and there to mitigate what's going on, but there has to be an international intention towards ensuring that responsibility is taken. Is this something else Africa, for instance, should do better?
Honestly, we don't have the resources to address the issues of climate change in its depths. You know, if we want to go depth, if we want to go, you know, in the nitty-gritty of how it should be addressed, we don't have that financial power. And I know one of the negotiations has been, you know what, clear our debts.
Clear our debt.
Why should I pay you interest to actually rebuild a house that you have destroyed? So if I'm going to take loan from you, for example, why am I paying you interest? Why am I even paying you back? You know, and these have been the conversations back and forth. Clear our debts, so that we don't even need to pay debts anymore. And I mean, such monies can be channeled into, you know, climate action. And we know how the negotiations have been over the years. It's not been easy. In fact, the over 300 billion US dollars that was pledged 2 years ago.
We're still waiting.
We're still waiting.
We're still waiting.
You know, and if you ask me, COP30 in Brazil was like any other COP. Where we negotiate
over and
over again. But what action are we taking? We had a lot of assignment from COP. I think COP really showed us, for me personally, was, hey, look, you're on your own.
You're on your own. I mean,
as a continent, you're your own. You have to be innovative to see how you can drive these measures by yourself.
How about African government and leadership?
Well,
have we been that intentional?
Now, interestingly, there was the African Climate Summit that happens biannually. It happens the first time in 2023 and second time last year. The next one will be next year. And all African leaders were supposed to be in a room and decide what our resolutions are as a continent with regards to climate, action. But unfortunately for me, from my experience at the ACS too, I mean, you could see the limited participation from countries. We didn't have a lot of, African leaders there. And I think this is where AU actually comes very handy. And I keep asking that question.
Where
for the AU,
the AU?
I mean, people call the AU the toothless bulldog, but at the same time, I feel like the AU can do much better in terms of driving real climate action, impactful climate action within the African continent. And it also goes to, of course, beyond even just saying or adopting these mechanisms or adopting this document, is driving implementation. And perhaps, I mean, maybe putting down extreme measures, like punitive measures for countries who do not, align.
Absolutely.
I mean, but you know, these conversations are ongoing, and I hear from the peer review mechanism, a lot of ideas are coming up to see how these things are possible. But I mean, within the African continent, to be honest, whilst we know that, yes, the global north are the ones responsible, and I mean, we're supposed to actually get this kind of support from them. The global south. But I mean, we would not also take away the fact that we, as a continent, we have to step up.
Absolutely.
We need to step up real time.
Absolutely.
And the time is now. We either do it now or it gets worse.
Like they say, the time was yesterday.
It was yesterday. I agree with that. So yeah, right. It still behoves on us Africans to be innovative, you know, in times like this. We can't always rely on the global south. I mean, we can't always rely. So we need to see how we, by ourselves as a continent, how we're able to drive this thing and bring about workable, sustainable solutions. But I must give it to, you know, to some countries like Kenya, Rwanda, right, who they are making efforts.
And in government, I must admit that the Lagos State government has been
oh my goodness.
Yeah.
We had a whole session at COP in Brazil, Lagos State, and fortunately, I mean, I actually anchored that particular conversation at COP, and my goodness, you need to see the amount of work Lagos State is doing. You'll be so proud to be a Nigerian. And if you're from Lagos State, you're proud to be from Lagos State. Every year, Governor Sanwo-Olu doesn't miss COP every year. You know, if he's not able to come at the state for, at least he comes in somehow, you know, or sends in very strong representative, and they come, they show up, they show out, and they go back to Lagos and implement. See, for me, that is it. Yeah. Implementation is very key for me. I'm big on implementation. You can have the finest laws like we do, but the key thing is actually implementation.
You return and you see that.
Abia State as well. We shouldn't leave Abia State. Yes. Governor Oti is, oh my goodness. I mean, when you read about these things online, this is not just mere reading, you are seeing it. And the people who live there are attesting to it. It is not a social media buzz now.
And for once in our life, we are knowing that this is indeed not rocket science.
It is not rocket science.
You can actually make an effort, one practical, relatable effort to your community as you can.
Absolutely.
Now let's move back home, where you are building climate advocates early. This is work I've known you forever to be doing. Okay, my first question will be, on young people, why do you think it's even important to have them early, to get them understanding what climate change is and contributing their bit to ensuring that, the environment is a teeny bit cleaner? Yeah.
Interestingly, I think what really drove my strong passion for raising young leaders and advocates was the first time I first read the aspirations of the African agenda. We actually have an African agenda as a continent. And we have very strong aspirations that should drive us to 2063. And my question is, how many people will be here to 2063, if not these people?
Not a lot of us.
So, who are those to drive these frontiers? Who are those to drive development on the continent? Are the young people. And how are we preparing them for that? In our time, when I was in secondary school, we did a lot of debates, we did a lot of conversations, it was more of socials and all of that.
Right.
Now, times have changed, and now we have trends that are ongoing, that are actually very relatable to us as a people. We have buzzwords now that has to do with development, climate justice and all of it. How do we get them aligned? How do we get them aligned that in the next few years that the ones at the reins of power speaking to this document? So for me, it was a no-brainer. 2063, will I even be here? I'm not even sure, but who are those that will be here? The young people, the teenagers now.
Absolutely.
In the next 10 years, they'll be in front of, whatever. It could be at the UN General Assembly, it could be at the AU Summit, it could be in the National Assembly, it could be at the State House of Assembly, it could be at the local government level. But already at this early stage, they're already exposed to these ideals.
Absolutely.
They understand the ideals, they understand the nitty-gritty, and they also understand implementation towards that development. And that is what we're doing. That's why we're doing what we're doing, basically. We need to bring them around, drive these conversations, and of course, build resilient teenagers. They are the future.
Absolutely.
And I mean, I'm not sure he should be kind to us if we do not propel them now. The time is now. It's now or never.
So, practically speaking, what skills and values do they get to learn from you, and how are they able to implement it in their communities? So,
interestingly, these are teenagers, and whilst we try to brush them up on what climate change is, which is very important. You need to understand the concept. It is a very broad concept and very confusing sometimes. For some people, it's confusing. But the truth is, you need to understand it to know how to drive implementation. And so we are building capacity in terms of knowledge. Get grounded in what it means. And beyond taking them through the nitty-gritties of the conversation around, what it is and what they can do, we take them to the field as well. And so we show them how to plant trees, as basic as planting trees. We take them on how to dispose, as basic as, reducing plastic, we take them for cleanups as well, and this for them to actually have first-hand basic knowledge on how to do these things. Beyond even knowing it, you have to learn how to do it. And of course, there are also prospects to see how we can take them to factories, to plants, where they see live how these things are recycled.
Right.
Yes. So beyond driving and building capacity, giving them the requisite knowledge, we are also looking at, taking them to the field and letting them know how hands-on these things are. And how it's actually very important for them to also know that this is not rocket science. As basic as, reusing your bottle. As basic as, reducing plastic and going to the market with a shopping bag. As basic as just cleaning, picking things. Those very basic exercises are things that, can drive them, prepare them from now and drive them from now, and they now think of something bigger and better. And of course, we're also charging them to be innovative. So whilst we're building knowledge, we're also showing them the possibilities. We show them videos of people who are doing amazing, young people who are doing amazing things
right.
From recyclable materials. So yes, we're building knowledge, we're building capacity, we're training them to be leaders who can speak to the policies, who can speak truth to power when the time comes. Yeah. And of course, they're not also lackadaisical or laid back or complacent. They are hands-on on what it is and how, they can actually drive it. So for us, it's a whole niche for us.
It is a whole niche, and
it's a whole niche. Knowledge, hands-on, capacity, and of course, public speaking as well.
Right.
You must learn how to speak.
Exactly.
You must learn how to communicate well. And so, how do you communicate these things? And we tell them, you go to schools, you must learn how in your class, learn how to do it. You must learn how to communicate to your classmates. No, don't you do this, do this, and this is why. This is the reason why you shouldn't do this. So we're also building that capacity on how they can communicate these things as well. So yeah, it's a whole niche, and
I went to a grocery store with one of your club members who said I should hold, since I did not come with a bag myself, I should hold my groceries in my hand. Next time I should come with a reusable pack, and I could not stop laughing. But now you have such good initiatives with noble goals, but right now, I mean, it's still in Nigeria. Africa needs you. What are the plans to upscale, or what's the problem?
I mean, we are currently so interestingly, we are not just in Nigeria in terms of we write a lot. Through my platform, we write a lot about these conversations, and we try to also put it on African platforms as well. Also, we have our networks in other African, for example, just before COP, we had a webinar, a continental webinar, where we had people from Africa, join that webinar, and we also had speakers, faculties from across Africa and even beyond. So we are also building that platform where it's not just a Nigerian conversation, it's a continental conversation for us. And for us, we are all in this together.
Absolutely.
We're all in this together. I was in a training sometime in Ethiopia last year with every African from every African country, present.
Oh,
yes,
nice.
and the conversations were wholesome in terms of I think in that class we concluded and we all knew that we're all in this together.
Right.
And the truth is, see, a continent that is actually together can never be defeated. And that's something that we need to take into cognizance as a continent.
That was what birthed the Razep Africa.
Honestly.
Hoping that, there will be that unity within us. Because
Africa is a continent?
What is it?
Once we are united as a continent, nobody, no country on earth can defeat us.
Absolutely.
A continent that is united can never be defeated. And I knew firsthand from that class that we had so much to give as a continent. We just need harnessing, proper harnessing, proper positioning, implementation, and by all means, get the young people on board. They are ready. They are ready. And as simple as our flyers going out that we're having a climate change summit very soon, I can bet you we have not come for partnership, we didn't come for, but I can tell you how many people have received messages from someone who wants to take a documentary, for one person who wants to give a poem, for someone who wants to volunteer. Young people are ready. Just give them the platform.
Absolutely. But I'm talking about upscaling the Climate Teen Hub project.
Oh, yes,
because, I mean, I look at what you do here in Africa. I see how excited these young ones are to learn about climate advocacy and climate change and everything about our beautiful earth. And I'm wondering, when can we have hubs like this across Africa so that we have young people also benefiting and raising these young ones all over the country?
Interestingly, at the upcoming summit, we intend to launch the online version.
Oh, nice.
So we have agreed that we'll make it online.
For now, at least.
Yes, we're going to go online. That's because we want to get more young people on board within Nigeria and beyond Nigeria as well. Have a lot of teenagers on board. And we meet once a month online. We'll be tasked, to be a very well-defined structure where, you have assignments, you have tasks, and you know that you actually belong to a community. So it's something that's on the works. And that online platform we intend to launch on the Climate Teen Hub, where even the young people who would come from other schools beyond members of our hub can also join in as well. And of course, we're going to open up to the continent as well. Young people can join him and be part of this community. So yes, there are plans to upscale. There are plans to go beyond even the online, go into these countries, our neighboring countries, for example, and see how we can be very useful in those areas. So yes, we do have plans. We do have hopes. Our dreams and our hopes are valid. So yes, I mean there's actually a lot to be done, and yes, we are excited.
What a Gen Z term these days. Our dreams and hopes and our thoughts are valid. Right. But I mean, what you do is very important. Have you had, in your conversation and partnerships and collaboration, have you had that kind of support that gives you confidence that, you know what, I'm not going to bother any longer, because believe it or not, I mean, we could have this conversation and people are looking at you like, yeah, upscale already. Oh yeah, make it once in 3 days and not once a week and all of that. But you need finances to have this convergence, to even get more resource persons and resources to ensure that you do what you do. How has it been in getting funding?
Interestingly, when I say, the people say, how is that possible? That I have been in this conversation of the SDGs and climate space for 10 years and I have never applied for a grant. For obvious reasons. Yes, for obvious reasons. And that's because I made a decision to be in this space because I wanted something formidable for my country and for the continent. And I am one who believes that we have so much to offer. And if we need to drive what we believe in, finance will take the back seat, first of all.
True.
And when we're rife for it, which I think we are already, we can now begin to go out to say, you know what, we have done X, Y, Z. We have evidence to show that we have done these things and we're doing these things. Now we need your support. So we're currently at that point where, in fact, these are the conversations, meetings we had last week with some stakeholders and, some potentials who want to be in our space as well. We're like, you know what, we are more than ready, for finance now. We can now go out to say, yes, we need some finance, we want finance, and this is what we are going to do with your finance if it comes to us. And so we have a structure, working around the structure, and of course, by all means, be rest assured that if you're financing us, you're getting real value. You see the real value. So yes, accessing grants is also very easy.
It's not.
When you look at the Green Climate Fund, for example, I wrote an article one time about it. I was like, why making the process so stringent if you really want to give out money? If you really want to give out money, why are you telling me to go and get some? Come on.
Yeah. When we have identified individuals doing
we have young people who are the grassroots doing the work.
Right.
Doing the work. And I give this example all the time. I have a friend in the IDP camps. What she does is she teaches the women there how to convert waste into manure. That's food scraps into manure. Sustainability. That is a practical solution that you
should support.
If someone wants to upscale that, you can imagine the amount of funding that should go into it. But that's just even an example of someone who is doing something like that on her own terms with her own fund. In a place that she believes that should have that kind of experience. So, and we have so many people like that, So yes, the grants are not very accessible. They are not very easy to reach as well. And
even when they are reached, I know someone who got a grant. We celebrated it 6 months down the line. How far? And he's like, it has not been disbursed. That's
the problem.
And
so
this is you who has an
if you want to help and give money,
right.
if you want to help and give money, please give money.
Be
as cliche as it sounds, pardon me, there's this very interesting quote now from Davido's one of his songs I heard. He said the person that wants to help you will not stress you.
Yeah,
and I believe so.
Yeah.
So let's
that particular.
Yeah. So help, give the money.
Give the money.
Yes.
Just nobody is saying
have a good M&E in place to monitor where money goes to.
Don't be responsible with the
absolutely. Yeah.
But they are easy to identify.
Very easy.
They're very easy to identify.
If you ask me what to invite 10 climate youth action-led groups, I'll do that. My eyes closed,
right?
And I know that these people are genuine and they know what they're doing. Absolutely. We have them.
Now let's come to the what they say, the cocoa of the matter. The cocoa of the matter is the convergence that's coming up. That's the Climate Team Summit 2026. That's coming up on the 29th of January. I think my first question will: what's the core objective of this gathering? That pause though, that smile and that pause though.
Yes, we have actually highlighted a lot of things in this conversation, including, building resilient leaders within the climate space, and of course the Climate Team Hub with which I work with as well. We are taking the conversations and the ideals beyond the confines of the Climate Team Hub. We are going now out to a larger and a bigger platform where we believe that everyone should have a chance, should have a voice. And so the objective for us is to see how we can expand this reach through this convergence, expand this reach, and see how we can get more climate leaders in this space. Equip them with the right knowledge. Through that day, of course, that day is not, climate change is not exhaustive, but that day you have a first-hand stint on what climate change is all about and what is being done by stakeholders, the governments, the CSOs. You hear from them firsthand, from experts, and of course, the conversations will be driven by the teenagers themselves. That's the whole idea. The
young people would drive this conversation.
From hosting, from the MCs,
to
the moderators, to the fireside moderators, we also have a stakeholders panel that will just be them alone. We want to hear from them. What are your thoughts? And that's because the core objective of this is at the end of the summit, we will have a policy document.
Oh, good.
That represents the teen voices of Africa. And so that policy document would have these conversations raw as it is from these teenagers. Because at the end of the day, that day, we're going to have a breakout session as well with the teenagers, where they will tell us from their own perspectives, what they think and what should be done. They are young, they are seen. Some of them are aware in terms of, some of them are actually exposed to the internet. Some of them are also exposed to these experiences. Absolutely. Let's not forget, because also having people from the public schools as well who are also not very privileged, like we know. And so we're opening up the conversation to get from them the raw truth, and also let them hear from the government, from the CSOs, from the experts, from stakeholders. Absolutely. What is it we are doing? What needs to be done? How it should be done? Also hear from them too. How do we involve you? How do you come on board? What are your thoughts and perspectives? So all of these conversations would culminate the policy document, and we intend to take the policy document far, submit to the government, the National Assembly, send to other continents, let them know that we have done this, and look at what teenagers are saying. Right. You can as well replicate same in your country. Absolutely. And see how it's going to be useful to you as well. So yes, we need to take it beyond even
not to be
Africa.
A killjoy. We've had several policy documents like this that come out of very important convergence and very active conversations, impactful conversations and all of that. What your strategy to ensure that this one is taken seriously?
Oh,
Maybe
yes.
let's not talk Africa yet.
Yeah, of course,
Nigeria, where that's going to hold.
This is where this is our home.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So for Nigeria, I know we're going to have the NCCC,
National Council on Climate Change.
We're going to have several government stakeholders and public office holders as well. What are we doing? What's the strategy to ensure that this isn't just one other document? They're like, oh yeah, we know about that event that happened. It was good, but yeah, it is what it is.
So like I said, beyond even submitting the policy documents to them, which would now be on them to work with it, we're going to also have a post-summit activity.
Oh, fantastic.
Monitoring and evaluation. For every school that will come that day, that will be present on that day, we would have an M&E on those schools. Because we won't just leave you. You have come to the event. No, we won't just leave you.
Become little ambassadors.
Yes. No, because that day, we're going to inaugurate them as ambassadors. They will have their pin, they'll decorated, they'll take their pledges. So that day, they will all become climate change ambassadors. They also sign a pledge chart as well.
Wow.
You know, they'll sign it and also get themselves decorated as climate change ambassadors. So we're going to go to those schools and, you know, monitor what they're doing. So you've come for the summit. It's not over yet. It's not business as usual. What are you doing? How can we help? What are your ideas, you know, to drive climate change, you know, action within your school and your community? We're here to support you with technical advice. We're here to support you to training, with capacity building, whatever it is you want us to do for you. And if it's an aspect that requires some funding, we would also see within our own means, you know, what we can do, and perhaps even help you seek funding as well. So we're not just ending at that summit. No, there'll be an M&E exercise to evaluate what they are doing in those schools beyond that day. So
what are you hoping they will be doing in schools after this convergence?
Yeah, so for example, in schools, that we come in, I want to see how those schools will probably reduce or stop plastics.
Okay.
Drive planting of trees, organize cleanups in their local communities, and also encourage the students to be innovative on how they can come about real hands-on solutions in terms of recycling. So what can you do with plastics? What can you do with papers? You know, how can you drive conversations? How can your school be a major stakeholder in driving this conversation? So, so these are the things we're going to encourage. You know, schools should start doing beyond that. So instead of you having encouraging plastic bottles, you can have dispensers in your schools. Have dispensers. Ensure that students have reusable bottles where they can refill if they want to refill. So you don't get to have normal regular plastics. If at all, make it very minimal. If at all you want to have plastic in your school, make it as much as possible, make it very minimal. You know, encourage the use of recyclable materials, even in your dealings, because a lot of these schools, they do a lot of activities, you know, from social events to a lot of things. I mean, you can as well have a recycling day, for example.
I mean, why not?
Why not? You can have a competition within your school. Call us. We're ready to partner with you as much as possible. So these are the small things they can do within their own school. And at the end of the day, it might sound small, it might seem small or basic, but this is how you build them. And this is how they're also propelled to think beyond and far on how they can drive these conversations and implementation as well.
Yes, I mean, you had a similar initiative in planting trees, rather. Not climbing trees. I wanted to say climbing trees, but that was my childhood. I did climb a lot of trees. But yeah, planting trees, and you partnered with schools as well.
Yes.
How was your reception? How were you received? And so far, how did that
I must say, I give it to the schools, you know, owned by private individuals in the FCT, and even in Lagos as well. I must give it to them that I did notice something. You know, people are always willing to see how they can be better.
Right.
Yes, we had fantastic receptions from schools, except for schools who were probably going on a midterm break, or you know, they had some very tight schedule. But trust me, they were all willing to jump on it and be part. They were all willing to jump on it and be part of it. So it really gave us a very good, you know, it was a very good nudge for us. Where we had problems with, of course, the government schools, which is always the case. It's something that the bureaucracy it's a problem. I'm coming to help you.
Your students will be
at no cost. Like, I'm not saying you should bring money. No, at no cost.
If anything, there is so much value for them.
You know, as in, I'm not, and it's not just me. So I hear these complaints a lot, and it's sad. As in, I'm telling you, I'm bringing everything
Public
at no
schools
cost.
that should
Guess what?
hold on and champion this
Interestingly,
initiative.
the public schools were in awe that we're not asking them for anything. I'm telling them, no, just bring your students out. Let's educate them and get them hands-on in tree planting. And they're like, are you sure? They were asking, are you sure we don't need it? Okay, okay, you know what? Okay, help us dig. So some of them actually, because we had our diggers,
right.
but a lot of them offered to get their own diggers to dig for us.
Right.
Yes,
Just
before time, yes.
Why they do the planting?
To do the digging for us, like
right.
That was how enthusiastic they were, and they kept on asking, "Are you people sure you don't want us to do anything?" We told them, just bring your students out.
In their defense, they must have been hurt so many times with initiatives like this, where maybe they had to pay something
at the end. Perhaps, yeah, that's a possibility. So they were really enthusiastic about the initiative, and we got very good reception from the private schools. I must
fantastic.
say, yes, who are always willing. I must say, in FCT, it's a good thing to see. Mm-hmm. They are always willing to to see how their students can be better, because they also understand the benefits.
Right.
Now, a lot of these school owners are very exposed people too. Mm-hmm. Yeah, give it to them. A lot of them have interacted with a few of them, and they're really exposed. So, climate change. Oh yeah, they're not interacting with you on the basis of that. Yeah. And so they're like, by all means, yes. What do we have to do? Some of them are also very aware. So it just makes the work easier.
Right.
Yeah, it makes the work easier. But for the government schools, I went to a government school. I won't mention the name. The principal was also very aware. He was, in fact, he told me how he did his master's in environmental.
Ooh,
yes,
nice.
sound guy, good guy. Like, we had a good conversation, and we sent the letters in, because we had to see him first before sending letters in. And the day came, and it was all stories. First thing says, how would that children come on so and so day? How many? It was just a back and forth. I was like, you know what? Come on. You don't have to stress us this way. Like, you have just told us from the beginning that this is what is required of us. If you wanted us to do some extra things,
from the word go, you would have planned it better.
You didn't have to make us prepare so much, and next thing you are, at this point, leaving us. And to be very honest, I always want to work with public schools. I always want to work with them, because for obvious reasons, they're not very open to the endless access and opportunities that are open to the private schools, because private schools don't be requested nothing. In fact, there was a school we went to, we also gave them 24 hours. We went there on a Friday, told them we want to do something tomorrow.
And they were ready.
They were ready. By the next day we went there, the Saturday, they had the students ready outside waiting for us, Yeah, so there are such schools, So, we would really want to work more with the public schools, if you ask me.
Right.
Yeah, more with them.
But that opens up a conversation I had with someone some time ago, volunteerism, and in Africa, where in other parts of the world, we see how young people are volunteering for their communities here and there for good causes, of course. Where are we in the scope of things after your engagement and experience? Where would you say Africa is when that culture, young people having the culture of volunteering for the greater good?
Yeah. No, I did mention that, with our flyers out, we have received a lot of, commentaries, wanting to volunteer. Yes, young people are always, willing to volunteer, and yes, I must say, which is the truth. I'm also, I said that, but I'm still a volunteer. I still volunteer for initiatives. I still volunteer for. I volunteer a lot, and it's something that has also propelled me to think, outside the box. One of the things I do as well are the ideas I also got from volunteering. So volunteering is, is that space where, is that exercise, a lot of young people in Africa are actually very conversant with, I must say, but things have changed from when we used to volunteer in our early days to now. For example, now, we are calling on volunteers, and to be honest, they're asking you, is it transport, is it feeding? For obvious reasons. Some of them, yes. It really is tough. Yes, some of them, and I totally agree. Some of them do not have what it takes to volunteer as often as they want to because of funding. Funding for transport and, perhaps feeding as well, which I totally understand. And that's why, the ones who I'm typically engaged to, are those that I know that I've called for volunteers, you're coming to volunteer, I really want to bring it up to say, Yeah, so where do you stay?
Right.
What are your expectations and all of that, you know? But we still have some of them who always want to speak of the money first. I'm like, no, that's not volunteering.
Yeah.
Let's get it clear. Let's get it clear. You know, you're volunteering not because of money, not because of how much is the volunteer money in the first place. You know, but you're volunteering because you believe in the cause. So yeah, volunteering is actually an exercise that, you know, I see happening all the time. Whether you call or you don't call, people are constantly messaging to wanting to volunteer. But I mean, like I said, things have changed from our time to now. Now, if you're calling volunteers, have some stipends for the volunteers.
Absolutely.
Yes. And that obviously
we have a peculiarity to everything.
Yes.
But you
and
won't blame us, like we say, economically,
it's not easy. So when I mean, I'm calling on volunteers. I am preparing for them.
Okay, so let's for those watching you right now and saying, you know what, I'm in the FCT at the moment, or even if I'm not in the FCT, I would love to participate in what you're doing. Is there a hybrid arrangement for people who may not be able to be there physically, and those who can be there physically? How can they participate?
So for now, we don't have any arrangement for a hybrid event. To be honest, we don't have that, and that's because a lot is already going on, you know, into the whole physical thing. So the hybrid thing is on the low for now. But like I said, we are opening up the hybrid situation for the Climate In Hub, and that's beyond the Climate In Summit. If you're out and you still want to volunteer with us, amplify our conversations, amplify our flyers. We are on social media as the A by the Becky Initiative, both on Instagram, wherever you find us. Share our flyers, move our flyers out.
Becky Initiative.
Yes, or just message me directly, official Ebaide.
At official Ebaide, yes. You can reach her. This is happening on the 29th of January.
Yes, of January. That's next week, Thursday. Yeah. It's here. So we have about 10 days. You have to 10 days now. No, it's not up to 10 days again.
Right.
You know? So we're counting down to the summit. And so, yes, amplify our engagement. Venue? Yes, the National Universities Commission Auditorium. That's where it's holding. 9 p.m. prompt. And it's going to be a fantastic day. Come make history with us. It's going to be the biggest in Africa, and we're super proud and excited. So you all come one, come all. Come join us as we get these teenagers set for the global stage. Right. The time is now.
The time is now. Don't waste time. This is where we end today's edition of Razep Africa. Thank you so much for the work that you do and making our time to come have this conversation with us. Raising climate advocates early, youth policy, and the future of Africa's environment. Thank you so much.
Thank you too.
Right. We had this wonderful discussion on climate change with Ebaide Omiunu, co-founder the Ebaide Becky Initiative. Thank you so much for being part of Razep Africa's episode today. Rest assured, we'll be back next time with so much more. Have yourself a wonderful rest of the day.
Welcome to Razep Africa, the heartbeat of the continent in one show. Welcome to Razep Africa, the heartbeat of the continent in one